The more you read, the weirder it gets. Okay, I mean, I'm almost nostalgic for the days when exaggerated claims about the existence of weapons of mass destruction were the only and undisputed rationale for war. I don't mean that the claims were undisputed, perish the thought. I simply mean that the existence of those claims as the rationale for war was undisputed. Why are we going to war in Iraq? Well, they are led by a terrible man. Yeah, but loads of places are led by terrible men. Yeah, but they don't pose a threat to us. Does he? Really? Saddam Hussein? Yeah, absolutely. Seriously, man. Weapons of mass destruction. Seriously, dossiers, all sorts. So that was the undisputed rationale, albeit one that turned out to be false, for going to war in Iraq. I cannot believe I am nostalgic for the days when we were simply misled. Sometimes I come on air at 3 minutes after 10 in the morning? I hit 5 past and I think, why didn't I realise that before I got on the radio? I am nostalgic for the days when we were simply misled. Because the thing about a claim about weapons of mass destruction is that it can be proved or disproved subsequently. Ideally, it can be proved or disproved before you actually launch a war in the Middle East that will have ramifications and impacts generations after you've gone back home again. Some, of course, of us or not us, some of them, some of our troops and our allies in body bags with untold casualties and deaths among civilians and soldiers of our latest enemy. But if it is a binary claim about the existence of something, it can be proved or disproved, eventually, either quickly or slowly or somewhere in between. If you've got half a dozen and counting conflicting claims about why a war is being undertaken, oh, it's happening again. I'm sorry I didn't work this out sooner. Then you can never be accused of failing or succeeding. Why has Donald Trump gone to war in Iran? Oh, it's to get rid of the regime. No, it isn't. The most likely successor to Ayatollah Khomeini at the moment is, wait for it, Ayatollah Khomeini, his son. He's currently the most likely successor. The other people that were in line for the job, Donald Trump has conceded, have been killed, presumably accidentally. I don't think you deliberately kill the candidates for replacing the bloke that you're trying to kill. That must have been an accident. They must have accidentally killed the people that they had earmarked for doing it. So it wasn't that. There is no threat to the United States of America. That has been established beyond reasonable doubt, but that doesn't stop members of Donald Trump's administration claiming that that's why they've done it. Do you know what Pete Hegseth said yesterday? I just want you to know, all right, I am not going to insert any red herrings into this morning's analysis. Everything I'm telling you has actually happened. I'm not going to get to 10:15 or 10:20 and say to you, oh, by the way, one of those claims was false. One of those claims was me yanking your collective chain. All of the things I'm telling you this morning are true. So the first one you've got is, oh yes, we want regime change, but the bloke most likely to take over is the son of the bloke that we got rid of. Oh, and by the way, we accidentally killed the candidates that we thought might be able to deliver the sort of regime that we could do a little bit more business with. The US Secretary of War yesterday suggested that the reason for this attack was because Donald Trump had a feeling that Iran was going to kill him. I've got them mixed up. No, he said that they did it to get the man behind a plot to murder Donald Trump, and then they provided absolutely no evidence or identity of the man who was secretly plotting to murder Donald Trump. He definitely exists, but he goes to a different school. And then you've got Karoline Leavitt, the press secretary, offering you another reason why Donald Trump has gone to war in Iran.
President Trump does not make these decisions in a vacuum. This decision to launch this operation was based on a cumulative effect of various direct threats that Iran posed to the United States of America, and the president's feeling based on fact that Iran does pose an imminent and direct threat to the United States of America, based on the fact that they are the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism, based on the fact that they were rapidly and aggressively building up their ballistic missile program to give themselves immunity within their country alongside their navy, so that inside their country they could continue to create nuclear weapons and nuclear bombs, which would of course pose a risk to Americans in the region and even Americans one day here at home. And then another point on this is the president found that through these extensive, exhaustive, failed negotiations with Iran, that they were hell-bent on death and destruction. So again, the president was not going to be...
So Donald Trump had a feeling about nuclear capability that everybody knows doesn't exist, that Benjamin Netanyahu has been claiming was mere days away since 1996. So is anyone keeping score? Is anyone going to keep tabs on this stuff? What have we got so far? Regime change, but not regime change. Get rid of the Ayatollah, but replace him with his son. Find some suitable candidates. Oops, we can't use them because we've accidentally killed them. There was a bloke who was trying to murder Donald Trump. We had to go in and take him out. Who was he? Can't tell you that, but he definitely exists. He just goes to a different school. Was that 3, 4, 5? How many theories is that now? Then you got the press secretary talking absolute gibberish, bilge, lies. Measurable, demonstrable dishonesty, claiming that it was all based on a feeling that Donald Trump had about bombs that don't exist. And you want to make the claims about terrorism? Look me in the eye and tell me that an unstable regime is going to be a less effective sponsor of terrorism than a stable regime. Or indeed, that if terrorists are minded to do harm to the West, bombing the East is going to minimise that likelihood rather than maximise it. Then you got Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State. Are you ready for another theory? Are you ready for another example? And they're all coming from the same building. This cannot be exaggerated, the importance of this simple fact. They are all coming from the same building. So you think about the weapons of mass destruction and you know that one day you'll know whether it was true or not. Why are they doing this war? You will never know. And that, I'm afraid, is the point. Here is Marco Rubio trying to unsay something that he said on tape the previous day.
Yesterday, you told us that Israel was going to strike Iran and that's why we needed to get involved. Today, the president said that Iran was going to get...
Yeah, your statement is false, so that's not what I was asked very specifically. Were you there yesterday?
Yes, I asked a question.
No, were you the one that... Because somebody asked me a question yesterday, did we go in because of Israel? And I said, you were asking me that follow-up, and I said, no. I told you this had to happen anyway. The president made a decision, and the decision he made was that Iran was not going to be allowed to hide behind its ballistic missile program, that Iran was not going to be allowed to hide behind its ability to conduct these attacks. That decision had been made. The president systematically made a decision to systematically destroy this terroristic capability that they had, and we carried that out. I was very clear in that answer. This was a question of timing, of why this had to happen as a joint operation.
So he's trying to unsay what he'd said the previous day. And, of course, the capabilities that they speak of, they were boasting about having destroyed 9 months previously. So either they've gone from 0 to 60 in the 9 months since they destroyed the capability last June, or they were lying about destroying the capability last June, or they're lying now about the capabilities that still exist, or they're just always lying. Or they're just always lying. So how many is that? It's about regime change, but it's not, because it's probably going to be the son that gets installed. It's about replacing the Ayatollah with people that we like, but we've accidentally killed them all. It's because Israel were going to go ahead, and we realised that Iran would retaliate against us if Israel attacked them, and so we thought we'd better attack Iran before they were the victims of an unprovoked attack from Israel. Is it because Donald Trump had a feeling based on facts? But I can't really explain how you have a feeling based on facts. You either have a feeling or you have facts. They are two conflicting and contradictory things until the evidence is provided. Now, I've got that as 5. How many have you got now? You've got the claim that one of them, an unidentified member of the regime, wanted to kill Donald Trump somehow. So they had to get in there and kill him first, but they can't tell you who he is. He definitely exists. He just goes to a different madrasa. That's 6, and I've barely even drawn breath yet. It's only 13 minutes after 10. Have we got more? Then you've got the theories that other people put into the space available, that it's all about money, that it's all about oil, that it's all about this, that it's all about midterms. Another report among the selection of headlines that should chill anybody currently minded to think that this is either normal or positive or good or something that should be cheered. Here's another headline for you. Netanyahu manoeuvres for poll boost from battle. And this is in the Times newspaper. After leading Israel through multiple wars in 2.5 years, Benjamin Netanyahu is no longer afraid of challenging the status quo. Yeah, that's what challenging the status quo looks like. And the suggestion is that he will call elections sooner rather than later because the Israeli electorate love a little bit of war. The one that really frightens me And the two words that I was teasing you with at the beginning of the programme, what two words would frighten you most? I don't know if anybody's played that game, actually. My inbox tends to go a little bit bonkers at times like this, so it's hard to keep track of things that you sent in 5 or 10 minutes ago. But if I said to you, beep, beep, 2 words, have warned that, or I have been finding out what beep, beep, 2 words think about this, what would be the 2 words that worried you the most if their conclusion was that things are potentially going to end up much worse than they were before this started? All right, spoiler alert, nuclear experts. I know we live in an era where people like Nadine Dorries think they understand things better than all of the experts, but I'm still going to go with the nuclear experts at times like this. And nuclear experts are warning that the US-Israeli onslaught against Iran runs the risk of backfiring and driving the regime towards making a secret bomb, a bomb that it doesn't currently have, but which is being offered up as the rationale for attacking them by countries that are currently attacking them. And there are, remember, only 2 countries currently attacking them. There is no coalition here like we saw in Iraq. So that's 7, 8, 9? How many have you got? How many have you got? How many reasons why Donald Trump has gone to war in Iran have you currently got? And the bit that I missed is that is the point. It's always the point. The thing that confuses you most is always the point. The cruelty is the point. The confusion is the point. The corruption is the point. The things that normal people still somehow stapled to the status quo, or still somehow concerned about international law or a rules-based order or a world in which there are consequences for criminal or immoral actions, those of us who still value those kind of things, who don't think that a rationale for breaking international law is the fact that the people you're murdering broke international law, because that means no laws matter, the thing that I always miss, and I don't understand why we always miss it, is that is the point. The cruelty is the point. The corruption is the point. And today, this week, the confusion is the point. Because if you don't know why they've gone to war, how can you ever conclude completely and categorically that it has failed? Or, of course, succeeded. You can claim that it succeeded, but if there's no consensus on what was supposed to be achieved, you can't really dismantle that claim. So when, as he will, write this down, Donald Trump claims a glorious victory, a magnificent victory, we have already been deprived of the tools we will need to work out whether or not he's telling the truth or lying again. Spoiler alert, he'll be lying. But we won't be able to prove it because we haven't got in front of us a consensus on why this war is taking place. Wow. I've said to you a few times this week that I don't know what I'm going to say till I get on the radio, but it's my job to read as much as I can, to talk to people, which I don't really like doing when I'm not on the radio, and to canvass views, insights, expertise. And sometimes I hit the junction and I think, oh my days, it's even worse than I thought. So you've got no idea why he's undertaking this war, which means you can't support it. You can write all the Daily Telegraph op-eds you want, or thump your desk in a TV studio until you're bruised. But you can't support it if you don't know why it's happening. To which, of course, you can shout, doff cap, tug forelock, whatever you want, Mr. Murdoch, sir. Yes, I bloody can support it. I'm Kemi Badenoch. I can support a war that I don't understand because I don't understand anything. So if I have to only support things that I understand, I can't support anything. If you don't understand why it's happening, how on earth can you support it? Oh, they're being punished for murdering Iranian civilians. Right, how are we punishing them? By murdering Iranian civilians. Right, that's number 9, 10, 11. Rationales for war. How many have you got now? Are you in double figures? So when he claims, as he will, that there has been a glorious victory, as Benjamin Netanyahu claimed last June, less than a year ago, that there had been generational success, which would, for any person even vaguely sensible, lead to the conclusion that means they won't need to go into Iran again for a generation or 3. When they claim epic and magnificent success, you won't be able to say, well, you will and I will, because we're paying attention. But the cap doffers, the forelock tuggers, the people who love the racism, the misogynists, the climate change deniers, the anti-vax brigade, the Daily Telegraph op-eds, the Daily Mail editors, they'll all be able to pretend that he's right. just like they pretend that he's not a felon, or they pretend that he won an election that he lost, or they pretend that he didn't incite an insurrection, or they pretend that he didn't sue a woman who accused him of rape for libel and lose, or they pretend that it was just locker room talk when he boasted about sexually assaulting women. They will be able, he gives them just enough space to pretend that black is white, that freedom is slavery, that ignorance is strength. He gives them just enough room to pretend that the fake news is the news, that the facts are alternative facts, that the lies are the truth. And it's 10:20. I'm quite keen to go home now, because I don't know that we're going to add anything to our understanding of the situation, to what we've just worked out together. And it is together. It is together, even though you haven't been able to get a word in edgeways yet. I read what you send me. I look at what you're thinking. I knit together the expertise that is being reported alongside sometimes the propaganda, and I know for a fact that I'm right. The reason why they haven't told us why they've gone to war is because that way they won't be able to be judged ever on success or failure. The other perfectly reasonable possibility is that they don't really know. Donald Trump probably doesn't even know. None of the people around him know. We just don't really know. Donald Trump, we've gone to war because Donald Trump wanted to go to war. Or because they couldn't tell Benjamin Netanyahu not to go to war. We can probably work out why Benjamin Netanyahu wants to go to war, keeps him out of jail, possibly keeps him in power. Why does Donald Trump want to go to war? Marco Rubio has two answers to that question. The first answer is because they couldn't stop Benjamin Netanyahu from going to war. And the second answer is it's not because we couldn't stop Benjamin Netanyahu going to war. So you think I'm exaggerating? That's just the truth.